Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. If you've ever felt like your words just aren't landing, or maybe you're struggling to really make an impact when you walk into a room, you are absolutely not alone. Today, we're going to master your communication, taking you from a total beginner to an absolute pro. We're going to discover how communication isn't some magical innate talent that you're just born with. Instead, it's a highly learnable, highly structural skill that can completely transform both your personal relationships and your professional life. So let's break down the exact strategies you need. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll uncover the communication gap. Next, we'll master your vocal delivery and build psychological connections. Then, we'll give you hacks for instant impact and finish up with a practical action plan. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the communication gap, and exactly why we failed to connect. Get this, a staggering 90% of people, 90%, completely miss out on life's best opportunities for one ridiculously simple reason. They just do not know how to communicate effectively. It's not a lack of knowledge, and it's not a lack of hard skills, It's simply the inability to convey their value to others. And that is exactly the gap we are closing today. Picture this. Imagine a student asked to give a speech without any prior communication training. They're nervous, kind of unclear, maybe rattling off facts about British taxes in this dry, monotone voice. But take that exact same student, give them just a few communication tools, and suddenly they're confident, relaxed, and warmly introducing their topic on stress. Literally the exact same person, just wielding a completely different set of communication tools to create a totally different impact. It's a real game changer. Moving on to section 2, mastering your vocal delivery, or as I like to call it, fixing the hardware. Think of this as tuning your instrument before you play the music. Okay, let's start with something incredibly powerful, the 3P rule. The first P, pause. It sounds super basic, right? But top public speakers and stand-up comedians use the pause to build massive curiosity. When you stop speaking for just a single second, the listener inherently leans in. They're waiting for the punchline or the key point. The second P is pace. Look, if you speak too fast, you confuse your audience. They just can't keep up. If you speak too slowly, you bore them to tears. You got to find that sweet spot. And finally, pitch. Please don't be monotone. Raise your pitch to highlight the really important stuff. It literally acts like an auditory highlighter pen for your most crucial ideas. Now, building on pitch, voice modulation is absolutely critical so listeners don't just tune you out. Mastering different tones is kind of like having different colors on a painter's palette. You've got an enthusiastic tone, high pitch, genuine feeling. Then there's the commanding tone, loud, sharp words to assert real authority. If you study legendary actors like Bollywood icon Amitabh Bachchan, you see this in action perfectly. When he delivers a commanding line, it instantly demands respect. But hey, you can also use a flat, monotone delivery strategically for a really impactful statement, or an ironic tone to create a strong, dominant vibe in the room. But, well, what if you just stumble over your words? Have you ever wondered how celebrities speak with such insanely perfect clarity? It's because their tongues are incredibly free and articulated. To get that celebrity-level clarity yourself, there's this simple mechanical hack. Take a pencil, place it horizontally across your mouth, gently bite down, and just practice speaking. The source material recommends a famous Hindi tongue twister, Pake Paper Paka Papita, but honestly, any complex phrase will do the trick. Practicing with a pencil forces your mouth and tongue to work so much harder, so when you finally take the pencil out, your articulation is going to be incredibly sharp and clear. All right, section 3, building psychological connections. This is all about upgrading the software. So, at a recent Creator Awards event filled with young influencers, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi actually started his speech with a super simple phrase, "Let's check the vibe a little." Now, why on earth would a world leader use Gen Z slang? Well, because he totally understood his audience. Whether it's a politician, a business leader, or a spiritual leader like Sadhguru, the absolute best speakers adapt their language and energy to match their audience's exact level. It instantly drops barriers, It forges a really strong immediate connection. And that connection relies heavily on empathy. But remember, empathy is not the same as sympathy. If a friend tells you they just failed an important exam, just saying, "Oh, don't worry, you'll get it next time," that's kind of dismissive. True empathy means actively putting yourself in their shoes, genuinely feeling that disappointment and pain with them in that exact moment, and responding from that shared emotional space. When you communicate from a place of true understanding, people feel it instantly, for sure. Which brings us to section 4, hacks for instant impact. Let's get you some quick wins you can use today. First up is what I like to call the Starbucks name hack. Have you ever noticed how Starbucks writes your name on the cup and actually calls it out? It's not just to organize orders, it is brilliant marketing. The human brain absolutely loves hearing its own name. It's literally the sweetest sound in the world to us. And you can totally use this. When you meet someone new, don't just say, "Nice to meet you." Say, "Nice to meet you, Aniket." Sprinkling someone's name naturally throughout a conversation makes them feel incredibly special, important, and instantly warms them up to you. Another absolute favorite trick of mine is the echoing technique. If you're ever stuck in a conversation and your mind just goes blank, do not panic. Say someone tells you, "I love traveling." If you just go, "Oh, cool." Well, the conversation dies right there. Dead silence. Instead, just softly echo a keyword as a question, like, "Traveling? Nice. Where have you been?" You show genuine interest, you validate their thoughts, and boom, the conversation just naturally keeps flowing without you having to invent some brand new topic out of thin air. Okay, finally, Section 5, your practical action plan. Let's talk deployment. Because look, communication is a practical skill. You can't just read theories about it, you actually have to do it. Step 1, record a 5-minute video of yourself speaking on some random topic. But here is the trick. Analyze the audio and the visuals completely separately. Turn off the screen and just listen to your tone. Then, mute the volume and just watch your natural facial expressions. Step 2, mirror practice. Stand in front of a mirror. Yes, it feels super awkward at first, but your reflection is your first audience. It builds massive confidence. And step 3, talk to strangers. Don't start with some high-stakes work presentation. Start incredibly small, a casual chat with a shopkeeper or asking a cab driver how their day is going. Just build that muscle every single day. By practicing these steps, your vocal tone, your expressions, and your psychological connections are going to level up so dramatically. But I want to leave you with one final thought here. Even if you completely master your voice and the psychology of your words, how you stand, what you do with your hands, and your eye contact, they're ultimately even more important than what you're saying. So I have to ask, are you ready to conquer body language next? Because that is the final piece of the ultimate communication puzzle. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.